The dispatcher's voice came through the radio just after sunrise. Reports were flooding in from a quiet suburban neighborhood. Residents claimed a large animal was wandering through backyards, knocking over trash cans and startling families eating breakfast. Officers initially expected a dog or perhaps a deer. Instead, when they arrived, they found a massive black bear casually strolling down the street as if it belonged there. Bodycam footage showed officers stepping out of their patrol vehicles in disbelief. The bear wasn't aggressive, but it was enormous. Families watched nervously from their windows while officers established a safety perimeter. One officer calmly instructed residents to stay indoors while another contacted wildlife officials. For nearly 40 minutes, the bear wandered through yards, climbed a fence, and even stopped to investigate a bird feeder. Then, almost as suddenly as it had appeared, the animal turned toward a wooded area and disappeared. The officers breathed a collective sigh of relief. Nobody was hurt, and the bear returned safely to its natural habitat. Only days later, another unusual call came in. Drivers on a busy interstate were reporting a dangerous traffic slowdown. Vehicles were braking unexpectedly, creating a growing risk of collisions. A highway patrol officer arrived expecting debris or a disabled vehicle. Instead, he found an entire family of ducks attempting to cross 6 lanes of traffic. The officer immediately activated his emergency lights and carefully stopped traffic. Bodycam footage captured drivers smiling and recording the scene with their phones as the mother duck confidently led her ducklings across the pavement. The tiny birds struggled to keep up, their little legs moving as fast as possible. One duckling became separated from the group, causing concern among everyone watching. The officer gently guided it back toward its family. Moments later, the ducks safely reached the other side, and traffic resumed. The footage became a local favorite, showing a rare moment of kindness in the middle of a busy highway. Animal encounters aren't always so peaceful. Late one night, deputies responded to reports of livestock loose near a rural highway. Visibility was poor, and several drivers had already reported near collisions. When officers arrived, they discovered 3 horses wandering dangerously close to speeding traffic. The deputies knew the situation could become deadly in seconds. Using patrol vehicles to create a protective barrier, they slowly guided the horses away from the roadway. One frightened horse suddenly bolted across multiple lanes, narrowly missing an oncoming truck. Bodycam footage captured the tension in the officers' voices as they coordinated efforts to keep both drivers and animals safe. After nearly 2 exhausting hours, the horses were secured and returned to their owner. The deputies later admitted it was one of the most stressful calls they'd handled all year. Some encounters leave officers laughing long after the call ends. A homeowner once reported strange noises coming from inside a detached garage. Concerned someone might be hiding inside, officers approached cautiously. Their body cams recorded every step as they surrounded the building. One officer slowly opened the garage door. The moment the door lifted, a terrified deer exploded from the darkness like a rocket. The animal sprinted directly between the officers, causing everyone to jump backward. One deputy stumbled while trying to avoid the charging deer. Fortunately, the animal wasn't interested in people. It raced across the yard, leapt a fence, and disappeared into nearby woods. The homeowners and officers couldn't stop laughing once they realized nobody had been hurt. The footage quickly spread throughout the department and became a favorite training room story. In another city, officers received reports of a sea lion sitting in a downtown parking lot several blocks from the ocean. Nobody could explain how it got there. When officers arrived, they found the massive marine animal calmly resting between parked cars. Curious residents gathered nearby, taking photos and videos. Officers established a perimeter and contacted wildlife rescue specialists. Bodycam footage showed the sea lion occasionally lifting its head and looking around before settling back down. It seemed completely unconcerned by the attention. Rescuers eventually arrived with specialized equipment and carefully transported the animal back to the shoreline. The crowd applauded as the unusual visitor was returned to safety. Perhaps one of the most emotional incidents occurred during severe flooding caused by a powerful storm. Emergency crews were evacuating neighborhoods as water levels continued to rise. While checking homes, officers heard frantic barking coming from a partially submerged porch. There they found a frightened dog trapped by floodwaters. The animal had nowhere to go. Every attempt to move resulted in panic. One officer carefully waded through chest-deep water while another maintained radio contact with rescue teams. Bodycam footage captured the heartbreaking scene. The dog barked continuously until the officer finally reached it. Then something remarkable happened. The dog suddenly stopped resisting. Almost as if it understood help had arrived, it allowed the officer to pick it up. The exhausted animal rested its head on the officer's shoulder as they made their way back through the floodwaters. Once safely on dry ground, the dog immediately began licking the officer's face. Hours later, rescuers reunited it with its family, creating an emotional moment that many viewers admitted brought tears to their eyes. Wildlife sometimes appears where nobody expects it. One morning, dispatchers began receiving calls about a large elk wandering through downtown streets during rush hour. The massive animal moved between buildings, confusing drivers and attracting crowds. Officers knew that even a calm elk could become dangerous if frightened. Bodycam footage showed officers patiently directing pedestrians away while keeping traffic at a safe distance. For nearly an hour, the elk explored the city before entering a public park. Wildlife specialists eventually tranquilized the animal and relocated it to a safer environment. Thanks to careful coordination, no injuries occurred despite the potential danger. Not every animal encounter involves creatures from the wild. One small town found itself entertained by a runaway goat. Residents reported the goat climbing onto vehicles, jumping fences, and repeatedly escaping attempts to catch it. Officers responded expecting a quick recovery operation. They were wrong. The goat seemed determined to avoid capture. Bodycam footage showed officers chasing it through yards, around sheds, and even across a playground. Every time they thought they had cornered the animal, it slipped away. The pursuit lasted nearly an hour and attracted dozens of spectators. Eventually, one deputy realized force wasn't the answer. He retrieved a bag of animal feed from a nearby resident and sat quietly on the grass. Within minutes, the goat approached voluntarily. The same animal that had outrun multiple officers calmly walked over and allowed itself to be secured. The crowd erupted in applause while the officers laughed at the unexpected solution. Another unforgettable rescue involved a tiny kitten trapped inside a storm drain. An officer on patrol heard faint cries while walking through a parking lot. Following the sound, he discovered the frightened kitten far below street level. Additional officers arrived to assist. After carefully removing the heavy drain cover, they lowered equipment into the opening. Bodycam footage recorded the tense rescue as officers worked together to avoid injuring the tiny animal. Finally, one officer managed to lift the kitten to safety. Covered in dirt and shaking with fear, the kitten immediately curled into the officer's arms. Witnesses nearby cheered as the rescue concluded successfully. The kitten was later adopted by a local family who had watched the entire event unfold. Perhaps the strangest encounter occurred when homeowners reported finding an alligator in their swimming pool. At first, dispatchers assumed it was a prank call. It wasn't. Officers arrived and found a large alligator floating comfortably in the backyard pool. The homeowners watched nervously from inside their house while wildlife experts were summoned. Bodycam footage captured the surreal scene as the alligator drifted through crystal clear water like it was enjoying a vacation. The animal was eventually captured and relocated safely. No one could determine exactly how it had reached the neighborhood, but residents certainly never forgot the incident. These remarkable bodycam recordings reveal a side of police work many people rarely see. Officers train for emergencies, crimes, and dangerous situations, but they also find themselves protecting wildlife, rescuing stranded pets, and solving problems no academy could fully prepare them for. Every shift brings uncertainty. One moment an officer may be responding to a routine call, and the next they could be face to face with a bear, rescuing a dog from floodwaters, guiding ducklings across a highway, or chasing a runaway goat through a neighborhood. These unbelievable encounters remind us that compassion, patience, and quick thinking often matter just as much as enforcement. Whether dealing with creatures large or small, officers frequently become unexpected guardians for animals in need. And thanks to bodycam footage, these extraordinary moments are preserved forever, allowing people everywhere to witness the surprising, heartwarming, and sometimes hilarious reality of animal encounters caught on police cameras.